Check Podcasts. Hi, I'm Bruce Williams. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Greater Victoria Chamber of Commerce, and welcome to Chamber Chats, coming to you as always from here in the podcasting studios of the Czech Media Group. I'd like to acknowledge, as always, that I live and work in the ancestral lands of the Lekwungen-speaking nations, the Songhees and Esquimalt or Kosapsum. And all of this Chamber Chats is made possible by the support of Island Savings, a division of First West Credit Union, who are redefining what banking can do for people, community, and the world. Things we like to do on Chamber Chats is talk about people and companies that are doing really cool things that you may not know about, things that when you know more about them, you'll be proud to say, yeah, that happens around here. That's something we do around here in Greater Victoria. Today, we're going to talk about one of those companies and the remarkable things they do. The company's called Titan Boats. And guess what? They make boats, and they're very good at it. Joining us today is Jennifer Michell, who's the Vice President at Titan Boats. Jennifer, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
So
Appreciate it.
we do this on Chamber Chats quite often. So you meet somebody for the first time and you tell them what you do. So I work for Titan Boats. And they would say, really? What's that all about? So tell us, what is Titan Boats?
Well, I think people are always surprised at what we do. So we're an OEM manufacturer of aluminum rigid hull inflatable boats. It's a bit of a mouthful, so we acronym that to RIBS. And they're built for some of the most demanding customers around the world.
So how did this all start? Tell me about the beginning of Titan Boats.
Yeah, we certainly come from humble beginnings. The business was, I call, built out of the backyard of a family home. So John Stanners is the founder and current president of Titan Boats, and also my father. So I got the privilege of watching this company grow into what it is today. But the start of the business was really done, supplying ribs for local tourism industry here on Vancouver Island. From there, actually keeping the family business theme alive, my grandfather and actually both grandfathers joined the business and really saw it grow and realized the opportunity to work with the federal government and won an 8-boat contract for the RCMP and never looked back.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff we're going to kind of pack into this conversation here, but you mentioned that it was your dad that started the company and your grandparents were involved. We at the Chamber sort of took an organization or a group called the Family Business Association and folded it into the Chamber. You're now a part of that. You're a part of our Family Business Committee.
Correct.
The dynamic of working in a family business is kind of interesting. Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, it's unique, but it's also super fun. So like I say, working alongside my father, I was lucky enough to learn the business through my grandfather, and I also currently work with my brother and cousin. We're 50 staff today, but a small portion of them are family, and it's it has its challenges, but it's also super fun.
Yeah, I grew up in a family-owned business as well. So yes, there are challenges, but it's great to work with family as long as you still get along when you all go home together. That's the other part of the
that
thing.
We do.
Yeah. So tell me, where does all this happen? Where are these boats all built?
Yeah, so all of these are built in Sydney, right next to the airport. So we purpose-built a 24,000 square foot manufacturing facility about July of 2021 is when we moved into it. We were previously in about 5 adjacent buildings just around the corner from our current location. Quickly realized that being able to manufacture under a single site with everyone into one roof really has tremendous value to the whole operation. So we have a fabrication and welding shop, we have a painting facilities, we have rigging and outfitting, stores and inventory, offices. So bringing everything into one area makes communication and manufacturing a lot quicker.
That was kind of an interesting time. I assume because you opened it in July of 2021. That whole process was happening during the pandemic. So tell me what that whole process was like and how the pandemic impacted that.
Yeah, so you'd think it would have impacted it a little bit more. I think there was a little bit of a slowdown in construction. Obviously, some of the cost to build got a little squirrely there, but we had signed the contract to do this in just before the pandemic in 2019. So there was really no looking back, and it got us to where we are today. And I don't know that anything would have changed in the construction portion other than just not having as many people on site and that challenge. But it definitely worked out in our favor to be able to move in after the pandemic, and we saw a lot. The marine industry saw a lot of increase in demand, more on the recreational side, but having us be able to move in at that time really helped support that extra demand that we were seeing.
You used a very appropriate term there, that things were kind of squirrely. You don't hear that quite often enough when
Yeah,
people are talking about the pandemic, but that's a great word. So thanks for that. Okay,
yeah,
let's
yeah.
build a boat. Let's talk about the process that goes
Okay.
into making this happen. So there's a design, and then you get the materials together, and you use that to start the build. What do you use to build these boats?
Yeah, so every boat that we build is starts as a sheet of aluminum. So all our boats are made out of aluminum, and we choose that mainly because of the strength and durability. It's also one of the more green solutions. An aluminum boat can be recycled at the end of its life, whereas fiberglass, it's usually in the landfill. So that's why we do that. And there's a lot that goes into building these boats, and as I said earlier, there's over 50 people making these boats right now. So a lot of that is various different skill sets, trade trade areas. Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, no kidding. So
Yeah.
aluminum is also lighter, right? So it's going to take less
Yes.
power to propel it. And this aluminum doesn't arrive in the shape of a boat. As you say, it comes in a sheet. So tell me about that
Yeah.
process. What happens to the sheet?
Yeah. So we get in pallets of aluminum, and it comes in on a truck. We take it off. We put it on our CNC water jet machine. We cut it out, weld it together, and put, this takes about 2 to 3 months process from start to finish, from the time it hits the table to the time it is hitting the water. There's a lot of outfitting and rigging that goes into it as well.
We've talked quite often on these podcasts about people who are making things on Vancouver Island, because the whole dynamic of making manufacturing on an island means you usually have to
Mhm.
bring stuff from away and put it together and then ship it off again. How does that work with you guys? Has that ever been much of a challenge?
Yeah, we talked about the pandemic that certainly posed some challenges, by way of supply chain. Um, there was a big backlog in the marine industry, partially because of the pandemic, but also because of the increase in demand in consumer for marine products. So, while we didn't see the big uptick, a lot of the recreational builders did, and that put a strain on everyone. But yeah, we have longstanding relationships with our vendors. Some of them are local, some of them are not. But we really do a lot of work to try and de-risk our supply chain and ensuring multiple sources for key components.
Yeah, because we saw automobiles, trucks, bicycles, all of
Yeah,
those things were interrupted by the pandemic for sure. Okay, I
yeah, absolutely.
want to talk about the people who actually do this work, and we're going to do that next. Our chamber chat today is all about one of the really cool companies building things in Greater Victoria. They are Titan Boats, and Jennifer Michell is the vice president of Titan Boats. Okay, so Jennifer, you talk about this group of 50 people, the team of 50 that are building these boats as they go along. What are the skill sets of those people? Like, what have they gone to school to learn?
Yeah, we have a wide range of skills and knowledge. When you're taking raw material and turning it into a boat, that can do 45 knots, we need a lot of people. So we have everything from, obviously sales and marketing, project planning, design, supply chain, but fabrication, welding, and marine systems installation are definitely the biggest trade skills that we have here. And fabrication and welding of aluminum is also a bit of a unique trade, not a common one in the area. Uh, a little bit more than some areas, but steel seems to be the biggest. So that that's a big one. And then marine systems installation is, electrical, 12-volt DC systems. So there's a lot there.
Yeah, I mean, we hear a lot from people saying, I can't find staff. I can't get the people I need to operate at capacity and stuff. So are these people trained at like Camosun and places like that? Is that where they come from?
Yeah, there are some. So there's fabrication and some welding courses. There's a lot that do go through Camosun, but what we found is the trade schools don't tend to touch on aluminum fabrication and welding as much as they do steel. I believe there's only about maybe a week in the program that they get to do anything with aluminum. So we find that we do a lot of on-job training, and there's quite a bit of finesse to teaching them the Titan way. So that also works out really well. And a lot of our staff can mentor the junior staff and bring them up. Um, that's been the largest way that we get people trained is mostly in-house.
Yeah, so we're seeing images, of course, of the boats that you build in various classes, and we'll get into that in just a second, though. So within that process, you build the frame, and then you put that. You don't do the engines and motors and things like that, right? No, that's another.
No, we don't. We don't build the. Mainly, we work with outboards, but we don't build engines, and we also don't manufacture the tube sets that go onto the vessels as well.
Okay. Seating is a big factor in these because these are people, like you say, they're going pretty fast on some bumpy water. You want to make sure the
Yeah,
seating is
absolutely.
suitable. Tell me about that.
Yeah, yeah. So we're actually lucky enough to have our seating manufactured right around the corner from us. So Shockwave Seats, or Professional Components, they are a global supplier of shock mitigating seats, and yeah, we almost exclusively use them in all of our builds, and it's a major game changer for operators. Like you say, they go into some of the nastiest weather out there, and they need to be protected, and that certainly is one of the best ways to protect their backs.
Yeah, we'll get into the variety of these boats and what they do and who uses them too. But again, I mean, the integration of technology is
Hmm.
just a whole game changer in the last generation. That's for sure. Tell me about integrating that stuff into the build.
Absolutely, we were just talking about that this morning. The rapid rate that technology is advancing, and especially in the marine environment, is huge. It's a great benefit for our customers. We get to you know put all sorts of systems, so screens, communication systems, monitoring systems, cameras. The advancement in technology is wild. But this is probably one of the biggest areas of customization that we see for customers. Is it depending on what their mission profile is, they need to have a very detailed set of technology on board to aid that. So we get to see a lot of different things. It's not very mundane by any means. So our team is learning a lot as the new technology advances and goes into these boats. So it's it's ever changing and a challenge, but everyone's up for it.
Yeah,
So
well, cars have cameras, boats are the same thing. Now, is AI a
yeah.
thing? Is that popped up at all in your world?
We started to see it a little bit in some of the integrated monitoring systems. There's a few things that can predict a good route to take, and it takes in sort of the weather patterns and tides and currents, and can tell an operator how to navigate that without having to, you know, do all the legwork behind that. So yeah, AI is starting to slip in, and I'm sure we'll see it a lot more, but for now it's kind of minimal.
Yeah. So, what's the inventory like? What are you building? How many different types of boats do you make?
Well, we don't have any inventory, so we don't build to spec. We're so every boat that we have a contract for, but we have about six hull shapes, ranging in size from 5 meters to 16 feet up to 45 meters, and we can customize the length and the customer's needs for whether that be a cabin boat, a T top, a center console. Um, Customization is kind of the name of our game, and we do all that through the six hull platforms that we have. Um, yeah,
Yeah. T-top is the roof thing that's on top, right?
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. So it's still a bit of an open console, but with a sun roof.
Yeah. Okay. Next question is who buys Titan boats? We're going to talk about that next. Our guest on Chamber Chats today is Jennifer Michell, the Vice President of Titan Boats, located in the industrial area in Saanich, right near the airport. Sorry, not Saanich, in Sydney, near the airport. So you've got these different ones that we've talked about. Who buys these boats that you're under contract to manufacture?
Yeah, so government operators are a big customer base that we have. They're the most demanding in that they need a very high standard, quality built, reliable vessel, and that we do. So we also have a number of customers in the ecotourism sector, and a few private individuals as well.
So when we can kind of open that up a little bit more, military in particular, you do some stuff for military, right? Tell me about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So most of our boats are all mil spec in the sense that we don't, have a recreational line or, everything's built to the same standard. Um, we build boats, for customers in Canada, but we've also built boats for customers in the United States, Caribbean, Europe, Middle East. We've built boats for the LA Sheriff's Department and their operations, um, and yeah, various different international clients for that military spec.
Yeah. So there are going to be times when people really don't want to see one of these boats because of who they represent, and there's other times when they're absolutely relieved to see the boat coming toward them. For
Sure,
example, great sense of relief when you see a search and rescue vehicle. Tell me about making those.
absolutely. Well, like you say, there's no we don't necessarily change the design spec, but you know, we built many boats for RCMSAR here on the coast. We've been building many vessels for the BC First Nations as part of the Coastal Nations Coast Guard Auxiliary, and you see vessels that these are the boats that are going out when everyone's coming in, so they have to be built well and be able to manage the search and rescue operations, whether it be stretchers on board and um, various different applications for emergency aid.
Yeah. If people are doing bad things that are against the law, they don't want to see law enforcement show up, but when they do, they're very often in a Titan boat. Tell me about that.
Yes. Yeah. So you'll often, if you're getting pulled over by the RCMP on the water, it very well could be a Titan boat. But again, these are operators that need a fast and responsive boat. We built cam boats, open boats, a lot of horsepower so they can get where they need to go fast. But these are on water platforms that they use as an office as well. So it's they've got a lot of tactical mission profiles, and we built the boat around that.
And there's some other, I guess you would call it emergency response functions that your boats do as well. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I mean, Coast Guard, through various international Coast Guards, everyone's pretty well got a mission profile that has some element of emergency response. Whether it be a first aid response or just a situation that needs that. All the boats are very well equipped to handle whatever that emergency response might be.
You talk about the boats going to Los Angeles and the Caribbean and other parts of the world. How do they find you, or how do you find them to make this connection?
Yeah, we've been really, really fortunate. So we don't do a whole lot of marketing ourselves, but the rib industry is a pretty niche industry. There's not a lot of players out there building high quality vessels such as ourselves. There are it's a pretty small pool. So we often get an email into our sales inbox and respond and build that relationship. And it takes a little bit of time, but it usually ends up in a really successful situation.
That's what you want in a business is a successful situation, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
So all these various uses in different types of water and marine conditions, what is the level of power between them? Like, where's the variance in there?
Yeah, I mean, you can have everything from a 9.9 kicker on some of the smallest boats up to we've been building boats that have up to 1,800 horsepower on them. It's pretty wild, and you see the advancement in the outboard technology and the engine technology. It's getting up there. So I'm sure in the future we'll see even higher amounts of horsepower. But it just depends on what the need is for the operation. Not everything's always about high horsepower, but we can certainly get you there.
Should mention too that you build boats, but you also repair boats, and you do that. So tell me about what that part of your business is.
Yeah, so we're an authorized service dealer for both Mercury and Yamaha. We provide after sales support to our clients. So we, the likes of RCMP, DFO, we service their vessels if they're in the local area. But we also have done a lot of custom fabrication jobs just with our skill set of aluminum tradespeople. We've done large nomad buoys, simulator frames for VRX just down the road as well. And yeah, we've done a lot of various different custom fabrication projects.
I did a little poking around on your website just to sort of see what the company is all about. And I saw something called water cutting. What's water cutting?
Yes. Yeah, so we back in 2015 we bought a CNC water jet table. So this table has a cutting envelope of 6 foot by 28 foot. Allows us to cut large sheet stock that we have. So what is a water jet machine? It's a machine that utilizes high pressure streams of water mixed with a abrasive particle that can cut through various different thicknesses, types of materials. We mainly use it for aluminum, but it can do a wide variety. Yeah, and it just we chose water jet over a lot of the other options out there for a CNC table for many reasons, but the versatility of what it can cut is a big one.
Yeah, so it's a blade. Substitute for a
It's
saw?
not. No,
No?
it's think of a pressure washer and then add
Ah.
in an abrasive.
Oh, okay. Great.
So yeah, it's a stream of water. Yeah.
Yeah. So much to talk about with this company. I would encourage everybody to go to the website for Titan Boats and see more about them. They're, with all due respect, a pretty well kept secret, but such a great story for this region and the
Yeah.
diversity that you add to our economy. So thanks for doing all that stuff and thanks for your time today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Jennifer Michell is the vice president at Titan Boats located in Sydney, and we're proud to have them as a member of the Greater Victoria Chamber of Commerce. I'm Bruce Williams. That's Chamber Chats. We'll see you again for another one soon.